Dr. Keith C. Perrin Jr. He's an accomplished, and yes, please, give it all the love. I love that. He's an accomplished and well-known entrepreneur who successfully co-founded FUBU, the Collection LLC, the celebrated global lifestyle brand, like I'm telling you, global, everywhere. Woo! And a pioneer in the fashion industry with billions in product sales worldwide. I can't even fathom that, y'all, billions. Keith continues to pioneer new ventures in a quest to ensure that urban lifestyle maintains that grip on society, because it sure does influence it, right? As the CEO and general manager of FUBU Radio, Keith is all about keeping hip-hop culture alive and thriving. Since its launch on December 24th, on Christmas Eve 2015, FUBU Radio has been bringing the best of our past while celebrating the possibilities of our future. Please give it on up for Dr. Keith C. Perrin. We're gonna do this fireside chat style. I have some questions and I'm gonna ask a little bit of stuff, but if y'all have thoughts, feelings, question. I know we have a number of young entrepreneurs in the room. Feel free to ask as well. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming and being with us, the youth. I first wanted to ask, just fundamentally, like, how did you and your team decide to start a clothing brand of all things? I mean, we talk a lot here in Pockets Change about when you're starting a business, you're solving a problem, no matter how big or small. Even a DJ is solving the problem of not enough booty shaking on the dance floor. But there's a lot of clothing companies out there, right? There already was clothing. So, like, how did you decide that that was the lane y'all wanted to go into?
Well, back then, it was only a few clothing companies. It was Carcana, and it was also Cross Colors. But Damon had came up with this idea for these tie-top hats long before that. It was like in '89. And it was the ugliest hat you ever wanted to see. It was like a sleeve with a string at the bottom of the sleeve that you tied, and it just fell on your head like a Santa hat, but a cheap version of the Santa hat, right? So I never liked the hat. I'm really a cap guy, but he was like, hey, I got these hats. I want you to, guys to help me sell it. It eventually turned into the FUBU brand at that particular time. But we worked that brand, man. I tell people all the time, can you work 4 years without getting paid? How many of y'all can work 4 years without getting paid? I don't hear nothing.
People talk a lot, like you'll hear the story of like, this person worked for a year or 2 years without getting money, but if they had no bread in the first place, they can't even take that gig. So yeah, I get that. That's really hard.
Yeah, it was 4 years, man. We put like our blood, sweat, and tears into it. And then I think it was around 94, 95, Damon saw it slipping away. So he was like, hey, I need you guys to read this book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. So we read the book, Think and Grow Rich. And it was one thing in there, one quote in there that really, really stuck to me all these years later, but it really stuck to me. It was, you never know how close you come to success because you often quit and fail. So I knew we had something, so I didn't want to and we all worked jobs. Don't get it twisted. Everybody had jobs, but then that was the other kicker. Quit your job and come work with me to build this brand. So now we're looking like, okay, though we're gonna be broke, and you're not paying us. So, but it worked out. We all quit our jobs, and it came to a head in like '96 where we finally got a deal from Samsung, and then the rest is kind of like history.
Woo! We need some love for that, y'all. It's a lot. It's really amazing and impressive. But as we're talking about here, like it sounds very stressful to be building something from a small community, like we're just in the neighborhood selling things, to billions of sales, multinational. Can you share a little bit about your mental health and your feelings around all of this stuff? How was that journey?
Yeah. First of all, how hard it was when you had nobody to believe in you. None of your friends believed in you. And when I'm telling none of your friends, every last one of them, we were the only 4 that really believed in this. But once we got successful, you have an image. You create this image for yourself, and this image is something that's hard to keep up with. Like you don't think about it when you're creating it, but it's hard to keep up with. So when you tell somebody, hey, I made $350 million this year, you know that family fund that y'all had? I was over there telling them, listen, I ain't got it. I ain't putting nothing in the family fund. I ain't got it. No, but you really go through a lot. You know, you lose a lot of people. People say you changing. And, you know, I remember when FUBU had went down, like, you know, we weren't making that much money anymore. The company was kind of, you know, all stalled. And I'm still trying to live up to this image, not knowing that it was giving me depression, you know. So I think it was around 2010, I tried to commit suicide. You know what I'm saying? Because I was trying to live up to something that I couldn't reach again. You know, you're never going to get back there. You may come close, but you're never going to get back there. But it wasn't until, you know, my mother, my beautiful wife, she actually saved my life that night, and somehow God spoke to her, and she was able to come in the room and save me. So thank you, baby. I love you for that. But once I got through that, it was going, you know, starting from the bottom. But the only way I could start from the bottom was that I had to give up, lose my pride and lose my ego. And I was able to start rebuilding. You know, I started FUBU Radio like 8 years later, 7 years later, and then I was able to get my stuff back. But, you know, people don't understand that. You never know what people are really going through. You know, everybody comes to you, yo, man, you know, take care of me, man, you got it. But you never really know what that person is going through. So that was my personal demon, and I'm glad, I'm blessed, actually, that my wife was able to, you know, make it there in time.
You're blessed, and we're all blessed to have this together. I mean, one of these things about this money stuff and these businesses and the arts especially that I found about it is what we make more than money is, I've been using this word a lot, we make community. There are places in Europe that I can go and sleep. Like I could just show up because, you know, I performed there a bunch of times and we're friends and we built, right? And you've made similar partnerships around the world where even when the money is low, because the money stuff, oftentimes, just to be real, y'all, the money stuff often isn't about you. It's some big systemic stuff that is so beyond you that even if you have a company that makes billions of dollars in sales, there are huge systems at play that we're at their whims. And what's important is that we remember that and not, like you said, you know, get our pride caught up in that system that was never made for us, that oftentimes was made for us to fail, but we succeed anyway.
Your pride and your ego will block your blessings. I'm telling you. Like, you know, especially when you become successful, because when you become successful, you know, you get that swag, like it's all me, you know what I'm saying? But when things go awry, you know, that's when you gotta like reel it in, and some people can't, and you know, things happen when they can't do it.
No, that's real, and you know, I appreciate that you're no longer like Maya, where it's all about me and forget about you. I wanted to know a little bit more about what you got going on right now, since you're moving into this new place and you're in this spot. You talked about FUBU Radio, but what does business look like for you now?
Well, I'm focusing 100% right now on FUBU Radio. We're actually the media sponsors for this event. I got one of the hosts, Chris Childs, in the building. And we've been just working at this thing, man, for years. And right before the pandemic, we started to really grow. And then the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. So now I got all my employees, and they like this. Okay, what we gonna do, man? We was getting, and you know, it was hard work trying to get there. So now they figuring out, okay, this company's gonna go down. This radio station is not gonna happen. But we actually had the best years of our life during COVID. I'm telling you, the numbers was up 190,000%, but because everybody was home.
Right.
But we was able to endure that, and then once we came out of the pandemic, we partnered with a company called U42 out in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a big tech company, and they were able to take us to the next level, help us get to the next level. You know what I mean? So now they're building the 18 sound stages, 300 seat theater, 500 car parking lot, full-fledged restaurant. So I have my own studio down there. I got my own studio I got another studio in North Carolina, and then we have another studio in Times Square. So
I love this. So I love being at the Bowery Poetry Club, but we're just gonna go on the road now, right? We're gonna come roll with y'all in Atlanta. We'll just be knocking at your door.
Let's go.
Hey Keith, we got another show. Kids wanna rock.
Let's go. Let me know when you come down there. I set everything up. We ain't get to Texas yet, but I got a lot of family. I got all my families in Texas. My man Bun B and Rap-A-Lot and all of them. So we'll get down there.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm talking a lot, so I wanted to give the folks in the audience, especially my young folks, or any young folks have any questions that they would like to share with Dr. Perrin, y'all. Thoughts, feelings, stuff. Oh yeah, please. Breadwinner CJ, come and tell the folks stuff. Ask a question.
What I was gonna say is that, you know, like, everybody know FUBU, you know what I'm saying, and like how he said, y'all done like sold a lot. So like, what, you know, even as you like became prosperous inside of your endeavors, what was like the number one motivation that kept you going even whenever times got low? Don't say your wife.
So I'll give you a little background. Like, I came up in a single parent household on welfare. You know, no heat, no hot water, roaches, rats, you know what I'm saying? So my moms ain't really have it like that. So I was frustrated. I grew up an angry kid. So I was robbing and stealing. I was doing all kind of things, bro. So I didn't have it. So it made me want it. And I used to tell my mother, I'm gonna buy you a house. I'm gonna buy you a house. I'm telling you. But the road that I was going down, she couldn't see that, right? So I almost died at 17 and stealing a car, crashing a car, going to the hospital, almost died. And I told her, I made a promise to her at 17 that I was gonna turn my life around, which I did. So I went from doing all of that to working for the housing and urban development in the city. And then from there, going to work in the private sector at 18, being assistant. I went from rental assistant, office assistant manager, to property manager in a year and a half, in 18 months. So at 20 years old, I was managing 200 apartments, low-income family apartments in Harlem on 111th Street. So once I got to that level, I didn't want to turn back, and I wanted to make my mother proud to say I was going to get her that house. And then the whole FUBU thing came along, and then I had to, you know, it was a tipping point that I had to make, and I made the right choice, and you know, I bought her that house in 1998.
With the punchline at the end. We have time for one more question. If anyone has a question, one more. Oh, yeah, go ahead, brother.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and everything. I just want to know, you know, when FUBU started to take off, what did you recognize as the difference maker in that point of change for the company?
For us, it was a convention called the Black Expo. The Black Expo, we had no idea how many seeds we were planting when we were going selling our clothes at the Black Expo, but we weren't in stores, so people couldn't find us. So once we got the deal with Samsung, they said, we're going to give you $5 million, but you have 3 years to pay back $5 million, or we're going to take your name. And we made $5 million in the first season that year. So from September to December, we made $5 million. And then the next season, we made $20 million. So it was because we planted those seeds that people, you know, and it wasn't only that, but that was a major part, because people couldn't find it. People used to come back year after year after year. We did it maybe 4 years, and people used to come back every year saying, yo, I bought 1 shirt last year, this year I'm buying 5. And then they come back the next year, man, I bought 5 last year, this year I'm buying 10, because I be around my neighborhood and people would be like, what's that? And they can't find it. So it was that, and then it was also 4 young guys that were actually doing something positive, doing something constructive. For us, by us is our mantra, so that helped. And then we was big about community. We were always giving back to community. So, we took care of our community, we invested in our community, and people saw that, so they bought into it, and that's how it happened.
Can we give it on up for Dr. Keith C. Perrin, y'all? Thank you so much,
Thank you
brother.
guys for having me.